Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey, what you doing there?
How you doing, Ryan?
Doing great. How you doing?
Man, I'm so better. So better.
You're
I'm so
so better.
good.
Oh yeah, right. No, you're not. I'm better, man. You wanna start with this? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's great. I am so better. Uh, you weren't doing so well before. I was doing great. It's just I'm doing way better than you, man. Trust me.
I didn't even mean to
You-
say that, but that was good.
oh my.
I was gonna say if I'm so great, if I was any better, there'd be two of me, but you know,
Mm.
yeah, but it just came out. I'm so better.
Could you imagine? You're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And they're just like, "Better than you." It would be hilarious. I feel like, are you serious, dude? Okay, well, sounds like it. I'll take your word for it, I guess. I'm not gonna get an argument over that.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is a show where we handle any challenges, issues, topics you might have. You can feel free to post them in the chat. You can feel free to post them on our website. Princess has the link there at bss.studio. You can also send us an email, dww@bss.studio, or you can find us on Discord. You can see there in the chat, and maybe also in the comments or description or wherever, we might be there too. But anyway, find a way to get a hold of us and send us your topic. All your options are there, and we are not professional therapists, counselors, lawyers, doctors, attorneys, or DMV workers. However, we do want to be your friends, and we want to help in any way we possibly can. And we just want to offer some perspective, some love, some encouragement along the way. We understand that you are smart enough to figure out a lot of this stuff on your own. It's just every once in a while, it's nice to have an outside perspective on an issue. I know that's helped me so many times. So many more times than I'd care to admit, probably. But Jesse V is our producer. Princess is our chat room hostess and keeping us all on track with all of our topics. And she also does a bang up job reading our topics for us, doesn't she, Ryan?
Absolutely.
Yes. And I'm your host, Joe. And above me in the appropriate location, upstairs, is the P of static, Ryan.
I kind of wish I was upside down. That way I could be upstairs upside down. I don't know. I just thought it would be fun.
Yeah.
My hair would be like crazy though. It would look like I'd have like.
I bet you Jesse could work some producer magic and turn you upside down.
Thanks, Jesse.
He totally
I'll have that on my desk by Friday.
I know when we turn these into recorded and produced and edited shows, I can do that.
Ooh, wow.
Power the Wecto.
Power the Wecto.
Yes,
perfect.
Can. Yes.
Malik.
Yes. So anyway, it's great to see all of you here. Welcome. How are you all doing in the chat? Good. 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 Yes, please.
Nice pretending. I just realized this owl is upside down. So we're just gonna leave it like that.
There we go. There we go. Oh, that's beautiful. It's like artwork beautiful now. It's like squishmallow art.
It's like modern art.
Yeah.
An owl on an upside down owl on an upside right owl with a normal owl next to it. It's a modern art. I just told you what it was. You don't have to look into it and go like, wow, that's so deep. It's probably about the philosophy of how like the Indians felt when the like Germans were coming over for their spices and stuff. Don't get too far into it, guys. It's just an owl on an upside down owl on an owl with an owl next to it. Okay.
Did the Germans come over for spices?
Joe?
I just said, don't get into it. You're breaking my rule.
I love you. I love you, man. You're awesome.
Leave it alone.
Yeah, we just talked about it.
Don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
Well, anyway, it's great to see all of you again. And we have a list of topics here in the queue. Oh, just as an announcement for all of you here, we will be doing this show on Wednesdays only for the time being. There's always the possibility that we will add more days to the schedule again. But at least for now, we'll be going to doing this show on Wednesday only. So we will only have Don't Worry Wednesday. We can still call it Don't Fret Friday or Don't Muddle Monday, but it will occur only on Wednesday. And yeah, so anyway, I will keep you, we will always keep you guys updated on what's going to be happening with the show. However, we will be turning it into a show that we will still stream live with you guys, but then we'll be taking it and turning it into edited and produced shows as they were in the very beginning when Ryan was working with the Beta Cat on this show. So yeah, it's going to take a little while to get us to that point, but we are moving in that direction. So just wanted to let you guys know that. So without further ado, our topics, I will read off a list of names. And if you hear your name, all you got to do is give us a quick, throw the emoji of your choice in the chat. Yeah. Preferably the dab one. Yes, like that. Hyrule. Thank you. You know. So, all right. So we have Man Left Behind. We have Eric Bodine. We have Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Royal, Lay, and Lux. And you guys. Noah, did you hear your name? So everybody's throwing the dab in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're one of the people. I don't know.
Hey, I don't have a topic, but I want to hit a dab. I love that emoji. It's called an elbow cough, but it's totally
it's totally a dab.
It's a dab.
It's a cute little dab right there. That guy's doing.
Yeah. That one. Mm-hmm. You guys all made it before me. I'm so impressed.
And this emote I just posted is a carton for milk. Don't you dare correct me. It's one of those cartons of milk where you can just like you squirt it in your mouth.
Is that a German carton of milk, like the Germans that came for the spices?
For like down to India. Oh, Joe, so we wouldn't talk about this.
Yes. So
don't drink that. You guys don't drink that. Wait, okay, did we talk about how we're not professionals yet? I hope we did, because no one. Okay, do not drink sanitizer, please.
Yes.
It may have alcohol in it.
You might have heard on whatever.
It may have alcohol in it, which is fine to drink, but do not drink sanitizer. Not this kind of alcohol.
Yeah, usually
not the right kind of alcohol. It's not.
Oh, nice. Well, Lay, we see you in the chat there, so we should do your topic. Yeah, you got a topic in here called "Stop Talking," and I'm wondering if that's directed at us. Probably directed at me.
It probably is. Yeah, this is definitely directed at us. We talk a lot on this show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, Joe, you should stop talking and let Ryan talk, because yes,
no man,
his voice is beautiful and amazing and wonderful. And
no, it's not.
Yours is not. So anyway, so Princess has posted the link in the chat. You guys can go ahead and click it and go to the website there and read along as she brings her lovely voice to the stream. Princess.
Good morning. Wait, is it morning? Good afternoon? Evening? You know what? Hello. You know how sometimes you just get so excited that you just keep talking and all you can focus on is how the first thing you just thought of is fitting to the conversation. And it may not necessarily be true, but hey, it fits, so it sits. So you just sometimes say something really, really stupid and then refuse to go back on it because now you're ashamed and Okay, I hope you get the point. But in case you don't, let me explain. I had a conversation with my sister earlier today where we had a heated conversation about pancakes. Please don't ask about the details. I beg of thee. So basically, we were in the middle of this heated discussion, and she brought up an amazing, heartwarming memory of her and pancakes. And so when she finished saying it and went quiet, I started talking. Before I realized, I made up an entire life story about pancakes, which was 0% true. And said it. I caught myself and said, I hope you didn't believe that. It never happened. I just wanted to say something cool. I just wanted to say something cool. I got excited. I had nothing to say, and I said something either way. And it wasn't the first time. It's just the first time I went back on saying it. Well, the first time of which I'm entirely aware. And good riddance. I shouldn't have to go back on it in the first place. It's not like I always keep talking or that I can't listen to somebody, but it just sometimes happens. I started working on myself as of today to stop myself from saying these stupid, made up things. But any idea on why it happens? Or how I could stop myself from these? Would appreciate your input and any stories you might have to share on this topic. Lots of love, your Polish friend, Leo.
Well, thank you so much, Leo, for the topic. I think I knew your name was Leo at one point, but yeah, I was just know you as Lay. So hey, that's cool. But anyway, I absolutely have experience with this, making up stories, and sometimes it ties into your personality type. Sometimes certain temperaments are more likely to embellish stories or even make up stories just because they're fun and they're, whatever. It's hey, it's cool. And a lot of times they're pretty harmless, but they, you can get yourself in a little bit of trouble with them from time to time, I imagine. So yeah, I think I'd really be interested to hear what Ryan has to say on this, because he's like the pinnacle of morality and integrity and all of that wonderful stuff. So Ryan, what do you
I'm the
have?
pinnacle of what? Sorry, my audio is cutting out again. So, which is weird. It didn't happen the entire last meeting. I think it's this Zoom meeting number that's doing it to me, which is weird. So I'm the pinnacle of what? Oh, it was silence. Perfect. Okay.
You're the pinnacle of morality and integrity and all things.
Oh,
wonderful.
well, that's really nice of you. I don't know about that, but I appreciate it. Certainly appreciate it. So this is an interesting thing. I think I've done this before too, even recently, oddly enough. And I remember, see, the thing that's interesting for me is I remember a kid that I grew up with. It was actually one of my brother's best friends, and he would make up stories all the time, and he would make up facts. Like he would be 100% like stone face, like, yeah, I know how this works. It works like this, blah, 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 and then finish it. And then he could be 100% wrong, but no one knew because we were all kids and we just believed him. And this was something that he did like a lot. And it was like, eventually we started to notice, my brother pointed it out to me and I'm like, yeah, that's weird. Are you sure? And he's like, yeah, you'll kind of get the hang of when he's doing it. Because you kind of just get to know the person and you start to realize when they're doing it. And it's just really weird. I don't know. It's kind of funny that we do this. And a lot of times it's because either A, we want to share in the moment, right? Like they're having a moment, we're talking about something and it's like, yeah, I want to bring something to the table so that I can be a part of it, And so sometimes we just make up a whole story or make up facts. Like we don't even know what we're talking about, right? Sometimes we want to sound cool. Sometimes it's because we are getting carried away with our own thoughts and like, oh, this would be really cool if it happened. I'm just going to say it like it happened. See what happens. I think a lot of times though, it's because we want, I don't mean like attention as in like we're an attention hog, but we want to have that relationship with a person and to bring attention to ourselves because we enjoy that, right? we always enjoy sharing parts of ourselves. We always enjoy sharing stories that are, real. So like when we have a conversation with somebody, like we've talked about this many times, Joe and I, on this show. One way to be a really good people person is to kind of just not talk a whole lot, but let them talk a bunch, right? So you ask questions and you try to bring stories out of them. And the funny thing that happens is they're the ones sharing everything with you. And at the end, they're like, oh my gosh, we connected. So like, I know everything about you. And it's like, you don't know anything about me. You talked the whole time. But they feel like they really connected well with you because they got to tell you all their stories, and that's cool. That's really cool, actually, because we can utilize that. And it means we can make good connections with people. We don't have to do much. We can just let them get carried away in their own thoughts and conversations and sharing it with us, which is great. But yeah, a lot of times when we feel like we really connect with a person, it's because we're sharing our stories, not because we're listening to theirs. And I think along that same vein, when we get carried away sharing stories, whether they're real or not, right, we feel like we're connecting with them, right? And that is a beautiful thing. But of course, when the story that we're sharing isn't real, it makes us think inwards and go, wait a minute, am I really only doing this because I wanted to say something here? Shouldn't I have just shut up? Shouldn't I have just like been quiet? That way, like we could have like more legitimate conversation and I'm not coming in with stuff that didn't actually happen. I think it's super awesome at the end that you're like, by the way, that whole thing, like, you just made it up, like, and none of that actually happened. I've done that before. I've personally done that before. Like, I've like, oh yeah, I remember this one time, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, at the end, I'm like, I'm just kidding. And none of that happened. I don't know why I said that. I've done that before. But it's good to be able to catch ourselves, I think, because it's an opportunity, right, that we're kind of taking from somebody else, right? Because we're sharing a story that was not even true when we could be relishing in their story, right? Because like, for example, they just told a story about like pancakes or whatever, and they're going on about it, and it sounded really awesome. And your response was to share a story that you thought was awesome from your life, except for you had to make one up, which makes sense in most conversations, right? Like someone shares something and then you share something similar, right? That's how we connect, right? But there's another way to connect, and that is to hear what they have to say and then go, can you tell me more? Or, oh, wow, that sounds so cool. Tell me more about this person in the story. Tell me more about, the way that felt in the story. Tell me more about the recipe. Tell me more about, so instead of sharing your own stories in order to connect with them so that you relate and have similar stories, take the opportunity to develop a better relationship by investing in their stories and bringing more of their story to life, because that's going to make them feel better than if you relate to them. It's going to make them feel like you're really interested. It's going to make them feel like the things that they said were really good, right? And that's an opportunity. Now we don't want to miss, right? So it's a funny thing that we get that urge to just like, I want to share something to connect with them, or I want to share something because it'll make me look smart. We have these moments, and so ironically, when we do the opposite of that, we actually achieve what we're trying to achieve. Like when it comes to like, if I pretend I know something about something that I don't know anything about, I'm just like, oh yeah. And then cars, they work this way, blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm totally wrong, or I'm just making it up, or I could be right, but I'm just making it up. So I don't really know. Instead of going, hey, do you know anything about this subject? And people will go, oh yeah, I do. Hold on, let me share some information with you. And then instead of going like, hey, I'm a know-it-all, and now you think I'm super smart, instead they go, wow, this person, they really listen to me, and so they must be smart because they're listening to the smartest person in the room. I am not kidding you.
It's so true.
It is 100% true. You ask somebody else for information and they're going to think that you're smart because you just went to the smartest person in the room to ask. And it's funny because everyone will deny that they think they're smart. But the truth is, you go to anybody for information, they're going to be like, wow, we just really connected, wow, I feel super smart. And now they're super smart because I just told them all that information, It's amazing. So anytime you encounter this situation, I think it's an opportunity to maybe see like, hey, maybe I'll go in the other direction, because that kind of gets done anyways, what I was trying to do in the first place, but without having to, make up a story that didn't actually happen, or pretend I'm something I'm not, right? So anyways, that's what I'm going to start with, and I'm going to move it over to Joe, see what he's got to say.
I have everything that you just said to say.
Okay, do it.
Because it's super true.
No, I'm just kidding.
There's a great story I heard one time. There was a lady who went to a party, and there were a couple of dignitaries. I remember one of them was Benjamin Disraeli. I can't remember. I think he's from England. There was him, and there was another high level politician there. It was like this highfalutin party, right? Excuse me. And this lady went, and she had conversations that lasted a long time with both of them. And one of the dignitaries talked about the stuff he was doing, talked about all the things he was planning, talked about all the stuff that was going to go for the country, had a lot of great information, and was relating all this stuff to this lady. She kept listening and asking questions and stuff like that, right? And then apparently, so they talked for a long time, and then she apparently talked then to Benjamin Disraeli, who basically just asked her questions about herself and listened and nodded and asked questions like about her answers. So she would answer a question, and you would find something in her answer and ask a question about that, and just continually draw her out more and more. And she was asked about how she felt about being at the party and how she felt about the two people and everything like that. And she said, well, when I talked to the one guy, I felt like he was the most brilliant man, like, because he was so smart. He had so much stuff to talk about and everything like that. I felt like he was one of the most important people there. And that was genuine. She felt like that. And she said, but when I talked to Benjamin Disraeli, I felt like I was the most important person there. And that's an endearing thing, because when you're in a conversation, I remember a guy talking about people skills and talking about having a conversation with people and talking about this exact principle. And he said he would use only one word when he has a conversation with people. And it's a long word. It says, "Oh, really? Why is that?" He uses it as one word. And he said, and you can use different sections of this one word. You can say, "Oh," you can say, "Really," you can say, "Really, why?" You can say, "Oh, really, why?" You can say, "Why is that?" You can say all these different things. And basically what happens is you get done with a conversation, and all you've done is said that. Like, that person's going to walk away from the conversation. They're going to go, that person was the most brilliant conversationalist. They were amazing. Like, that was really, really cool. And you've just said, "Oh, and really, and why?" And stuff, like, that's it. So it keeps everything really simple for you. And it makes the connection, like Ryan was talking about, the connection is so much more solid, and they are more endeared toward you because of it. Now, I still, to this day, embellish stories. I exaggerate on stories. I try not to. And, a lot of the stuff I share here, I share like it is. I try not to exaggerate. I try to share like it is. But I remember I was on the phone just a couple days ago with an office person, um, for one of my inspections clients, and we were talking about different stuff and everything. And then I caught myself doing this exact same thing. Now, I didn't make up the story, but I did take the story and embellish it and exaggerate a little bit, go a little further than maybe it was on the sunny side of the truth, probably. Um, but so, I mean, nothing I said was completely false. It was just kind of exaggerated. And I remember getting done with that and going, why did I feel like I needed to do that? There was no reason, none at all. But just like you, I caught myself, but I didn't have a chance to go back and say, correct myself on it. The phone conversation was over and everything like that. But but I still catch myself doing this. So even, hey, I'm in the same condition you are, my friend. And I don't know, we try to get better. And probably the thing to remember is exactly what Ryan was just talking about. Take the focus off of yourself and put the focus on the person you're talking to. I remember hearing a person say one time, ask questions of people as if you're digging for gold. And, as you're digging and digging and digging. Now, I got to spend like an hour playing Minecraft with my kids recently. And, they love it when I play with them because I will just patiently go down and dig and dig and dig in cave systems until I find diamonds. And then they teleport to me and mine the diamonds and take them. But like,
oh, yeah.
But, it's like that. You're digging for something valuable. And a lot of times you got to go through a bunch of cobblestone first, and gravel and dirt and stuff. You go through a bunch of nonsense, but then you get some real gems in the conversation. And all you got to do is just continually ask questions and draw them out. And what you're going to find, if you sincerely listen, you're going to realize that you are talking to a very interesting person. You really are. Because every single one of us has something about us. Everyone. I mean, I was at a gas station not too long ago, and I was pumping gas, and there was a homeless guy, and he came out. Actually, this was before the pandemic, so this was a little bit more acceptable behavior. But the guy, it was hilarious. The guy was just looking for some change and stuff like that, and so he tried to sell me a half-eaten can of Pringles. And I was like, dude,
wow.
I'm impressed that you actually have something to sell. You're not just asking for money. Like he actually was trying to give me something for it. I'm like, dude, here, I have $1. You can just have it. Like, I don't need your Pringles. Like, you can keep them. But that just kind of sparked something. And I ended up talking to the guy for a few minutes. And you learn that every single person, whether they're homeless, whether they're wealthy, whether they are, maybe they're a cop, maybe they're a doctor, maybe they're a student, maybe they're just a little kid. Every single person has something great about them. And if you just take a little bit of time and talk to them and ask them some questions, you're going to find it. And it'll probably surprise you in a lot of cases. I know I've been completely surprised in a lot of cases. I remember the first time I listened to Ryan's music, I was astounded. Because I had met Ryan. I knew Ryan. I had no idea the depth of the level of talent he had within him. But that took time of getting to know him and then finally getting to the point where we had a comfortable enough relationship where we were able to share that stuff with each other. And it was amazing. So I encourage you, follow what Ryan was talking about. Instead of in a situation like that where we definitely want to jump in and participate in the conversation, anytime you think you have something to say, ask a question. When you open your mouth, ask something. And things will go so much better for the whole conversation. And at the end of it, even though you didn't say anything, you will feel so good about that conversation. You'll be amazed. So I would encourage you to do that. Ryan, what else you got?
Yeah, thanks so much, Joe, for sharing that. And yeah, I mean, I guess there's also the other side of the conversation. It's like, you can't only ask questions in a conversation once you actually get to know somebody. It comes to a point where they're going to be asking you questions, or they're going to be sharing stories, and you get to that level where you really should be sharing yourself, sharing thoughts. And so, obviously you should always take up that opportunity to ask questions and dig deeper in their stories and figure out, the characters and involved and really make their story shine, because it makes them feel like diamonds. But and Joe is so right when you dig for gold or you dig for diamonds in the person. Each human being has so much beyond surface level, beyond skin. I mean, people will identify themselves with things, but I honestly really dislike that. People will go, they're gay or they're transgendered or whatever, right? And it just makes me go, why are we talking about that? This is a human being. They're so deep. They're far more than just that title. So it's worth it to get to know somebody. The thing is, each person's value, I would have to spend more than my entire lifetime investing in one person to match the value of that person, right? I couldn't. I could spend my entire life digging into a person's soul, talking to them, offering them everything that I have, and it wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't. I'd have to devote my entire lifetime, and it wouldn't be enough for one person. And I know a lot of people. But it's important to really think about your friendships and things like that in that way, because it really helps to want to understand the person, want to know their stories, to want to get to know them on that level, and to appreciate them and all that they've been through and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that's a really good way to maybe go forward looking at this. But like I said before, there comes a point where you actually have to share your own stories. So when you kind of catch yourself and it's like, oh, I kind of want to, you start telling a story and it's like, it's not true, right? Because you want to connect with them. You're trying to, you come up with something and you're like, oh, I could totally relate to that. And then you imagine something and you didn't do it, but it's real enough. And it's like, I would relate to that. I could imagine this happening to me. And you just say it as if it happens to you, or you exaggerate certain points out to really try to get the feeling across, even though what you're saying is inaccurate, right? Because that's kind of like why Joe was exaggerating his points, right? It's because he really wants to get the feeling across. And so he's exaggerating the points to really convey that message of, and that built up tension that he's trying to release and show. So what do we do when we're approached with that? When we notice ourselves maybe wanting to do that? I think, like we said, there's always that opportunity to just be quiet. And I think that's always worth taking. But if someone's asking you a question and you just don't have an answer for it, right? Or someone's telling you something and you're like, I think a good way to navigate that is be like, I could imagine this scenario for myself. Like, I can relate to that. I can imagine anyone, going through this, blah, 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 blah. And you can say whatever you want. And so that's kind of what I think, how I navigate that personally. Whenever I feel like, oh, I could relate, or I could say something, or maybe I know how this thing works, but I'm not sure, right? I could imagine that this works this way. I don't want to, no one wants to sound stupid. And if we can't ask somebody a question like, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, I don't know, I'm coming to you. Then you can always say, I don't know, but I can imagine this. Or I never experienced that, but I could imagine going through a scenario like blah, 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 blah. Right. And so that's, I think, Lay, if you want to continue using your imagination in the way that you do, just start with that phrase. Just start with that phrase, and that will probably solve a lot of it. Because then no longer are you talking about yourself. You're talking about, you could imagine it working this way, or you could imagine going through this scenario personally. And then that will relate enough to the person that it makes sense. That will continue the conversation in the way that you want it to, without having to say, I'm the one who did that. you know, and then lying about it, or I know this for a fact, and then having to go like, okay, now you're kind of calling me out, and now I have to defend myself, and this stinks, right? No one wants to do that, you know. And if you say, oh, I imagine maybe it works like this, but I don't really know, then it really leaves it open to the other person to talk again, because then they can go, oh, that's a really interesting idea, I didn't really think about that. Or they'll be like, no way, it couldn't do that because of blah 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 blah, and you'd be like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, that makes sense. And you know, there's no issue, because all you said was, I could imagine it working like this, but I don't, you know, or I could imagine going through this scenario and feeling this way about it, you know. So I think that would probably be what my suggestion would be. If you start to notice yourself having that desire to do that, that inkling, that just like you kind of just start picking up yourself doing it in the middle of nowhere, you can even interrupt yourself. Like, and by the way, you like just stop yourself and be like, and by the way, this isn't like something that actually happened to me. I can just imagine this happening. That's what I'm talking about. And then you continue. You know, I think that would be a save right there. That'd be a quick save right there. So, um, yeah, Leigh, I hope that helps. I mean, I really appreciate this topic, because it is really interesting thing that we humans do. I don't think no other creature would do this, but humans are funny, and we're weird, and we're strange, and it's great. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, John, I'm gonna give it back to you in case you have anything else you wanted to add on to it.
Yep. No, I think that's awesome, Ryan. And I think one of the things to be mindful of, if you start to notice yourself doing this a lot, if you start to see it as a knee-jerk reaction, then check through, kind of do a self-mental check or a self-emotional check. Look for things like pride and insecurity and stuff like that. You know, look for ways that, you know, reasons why that might be happening, because pride's a big one. Just not the healthy kind of pride, you know, where it's like, hey, I feel good about who I am, not necessarily self-esteem, but like more like, um oh geez, like it really stems from insecurity, and that stems from self focus. So what happens a lot of times is we're just so focused on ourselves. Maybe we're tired. A lot of times that happens to me when I'm tired. When I'm tired, I'm focused on me being tired, and then everything that's wrong is like, how dare you do this because I'm tired, like, or I'm hungry, and so like, how dare you, I'm hungry. Didn't you know that? Like, so, but those are things. Yes, exactly. Like an examination of conscience. That's a really good thing to do. And you can look and see, are there things, we kind of talked about this a little bit on Double Cup of Joe this morning. We talked about forgiveness of self. That was the topic for this morning. And we were talking about, when you are going to forgive yourself, part of that equation is also repentance. Because if you did something wrong and you need to forgive yourself for that thing you did wrong, which, disclaimer, you're probably going to do something wrong eventually. I will probably do something wrong within the next hour. You guys will witness it. However,
It's same. I mean, let's be
so,
honest.
but you know, you can kind of look through and say, okay, is there anything that I need to repent of? Is there anything that somebody did to me that hurt me that I need to forgive them for? Because any unforgiveness causes us to kind of put up this defensive mechanism in our lives, and that can cause us to feel insecure enough to do things like this. So most of the time it's probably just benign, we want to just participate. However, if you start to see it frequently in your life, then be on the lookout for something that might be causing some kind of insecurity in your life, because that might be where it's stemming from. And once you fix that, you probably won't feel the need to embellish stories and to make things up to impress people and stuff like that. You'll feel secure in your own skin and be just fine. So anyway, yeah, like what Ryan said, hopefully that helps. And thank you so much for the topic. It was wonderful. it's a bit of a new one for us. So,
yeah, honestly, that's partially why I appreciate it, because it's like I don't think we've actually talked about this this concept before. So it's really great. Thanks, Lay. You rock.
Yeah. Elizabeth, I am with you. Repentance is not easy for me either. The thing I remember when I need to repent of something is that I have to remind myself that the bad behavior is not a definition of who I am. A lot of times we lump in our behaviors with who we are, and we start to define ourselves as those behaviors. When I learned that I can separate who I am from my behavior, now my behavior is a result of who I am in many cases, right? Who I am influences my behavior for sure. But when I realized those were two separate things, I found out, oh, it became much easier for me to repent of the behavior and still keep my identity intact and understand that, hey, I'm still good. It's just this behavior was wrong. So, and I don't want to do that bad thing because I'm good. So I'm going to try and make reparations for that. So at any rate, how do I make common sense sound so wise? You know what? I learned that from a priest. So, but he's a very wise priest.
Yeah, I almost just got carried away talking about what you were just talking about. I'm like, oh, yeah. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't a topic. Maybe it should be, but I was about to jump in and like just start talking about all sorts of different stuff. But yeah, yep. I mean, what Joe was saying is so true.
Yeah, and Noah, you are spot on. As long as you understand that sometimes things just happen, repentance get easier for sure. Absolutely. Because sometimes we get carried away in a moment. Sometimes we're not necessarily acting with full control of our faculties. You know, all kinds of things could be happening. But, yep. So, anyway.
Anyways, thank you, Lay, so much.
Yes, thank you.
It's a great topic.
Anyway, we should move on to another one, shall we?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so let's see. I'll go down the list again. And if any of you are here, or if you have a topic and you'd like to post it in the chat, feel free. Or if you have a topic you want to post it on bss.studio, feel free. The best place for us to see it right now would probably be the chat. But I'll go down the list real quick. Man Left Behind, Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Royal, or Lux.
Wait, shouldn't there be? Is there? Wait, is there another one? Someone said it earlier. They were posting one.
Was that today?
But they were probably working on it still. Yeah, it was today. Wave something.
Oh.
Yeah. See, just like I said.
Hey, is that
Wave Slayer?
Is that one there?
I thought I heard something about delicious pancakes. You sure did, Wave Slayer.
Yeah, delicious pancakes are delicious.
Yep. So we've also have Wave
Like,
Slayers.
yeah, we got one.
Awesome. Thank you, Princess. You rock.
Yes, Princess. All right. So, and let's see.
She's working on it behind the scenes, so in case anyone was wondering.
Watch this. Watch.
Oh, are you gonna try to before she does?
Ooh, no, that was close. It came up first on mine. Did it come up first in the?
It came up first on mine. I will admit to that.
Hey, Princess, I love you.
I knew what you were doing just by your like the way you were speaking about it. Oh, that's great.
Nice.
Hey, it's Tsubasa. What's up, man?
Yay.
One button away.
Hey, it's all good.
Nice.
So, well, Princess, do you want to read this one for us? It's called Too Free by Wave Slayer.
Hi, my name's Ocean, and I'm from Hawaii. Last year, I was diagnosed with major depression. Thankfully, my parents took me to therapy, and after a while, I was, quote unquote, cured. Now I'm living life happier than ever, and I have a higher self-esteem than I've had in a while. that I've only been through 2 years of high school, I think I've been through a lot. I've had a difficult past, but now I have a different outlook on life. I live every day like it might be my last. However, that way of thinking comes with one problem. I live life recklessly because I don't know when I could die. I don't have any crippling illnesses or anything, but I've had friends die suddenly or have been paralyzed. I don't necessarily fear death because I know it is natural, but I know that we don't get to decide what kills us or when. I've adapted a lifestyle that isn't necessarily considered safe, and I have crazy plans for the future. My hobbies include hiking/backpacking, climbing buildings, cliff jumping, and surfing. So basically, anything that gets the blood pumping. I only do what I know I can do, and I don't push myself if I'm not confident. Slipping off the building is not one of my interests. In the future, I want to live a job that isn't normal. Something that isn't 9 to 5 and doesn't necessarily have to be legal. Not long ago, I did dream of living as a nomad in some random country, just surviving. I'm not a realist by any means. I want my life to be a story. Things on my bucket list include skydiving, protesting in a foreign country, and being involved in some kind of international conflict. So my question is, quote unquote, simple. Is my lifestyle healthy or not? Thanks for all the help, guys. I love this community, and I see a lot of my old self in many of these people. I'm glad someone is helping them out. From Waveslayer.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for the topic, Waveslayer. And I was gonna say, you know, when your name is Waveslayer and you said you're from Hawaii, I was like, surfer?
And their profile picture, I'm pretty sure, is probably them on the roof of a building,
Yeah,
walking in the very edge of it. Very
looks
cool.
like it could be. So yeah, no, those are some fun hobbies. And the question is, your lifestyle healthy or not? I'm sure that probably depends on your perspective, who you are, and there's all kinds of different opinions, and it'd probably be a sliding scale of whether this is healthy. In a lot of ways it is, because you're active. Now, you may be taking some risks, you know, and some of those risks, if they're well calculated, then you know, might not be super harmful. However, there is definitely the risk. But I feel you on the not wanting to live the normal 9 to 5, you know, punch a clock and work for, you know, all my life and then die. You know, I agree with your sentiment there. So, but before I get too carried away on that, I'm going to turn over to Ryan and let him talk about this. So,
awesome. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, Waveslayer. Nice, dude. It sounds well. First of all, recovering from depression, I think that's awesome. That is super, super great. You know, depression is one of those things where it's really, like you said, you feel like you have a higher self-esteem than ever. And I mean, really, those relate so closely. Depression is, you know, having a negative viewpoint about yourself mostly, and usually about the entire world, but then it's really directed back at you. And that's the way that, you know, depression kind of formulates and becomes a habit, and just kind of like is this cycle that destroys us. So it's awesome to hear that you've gotten out of that. And so it seems like from what you've told us, you've taken that and you've taken a turn to the extreme to be really like a thrill seeker, which I'll tell you, I don't think that thrill seekers are necessarily bad by any means. I like what Joe said. I think you'll get a lot of mixed responses. You know, people who are worried about your safety, for example, doctors or people who work in law enforcement, people who are medics, your parents, things like this, brothers and sisters, people who are worried about your safety would say this is super unhealthy. And then people who are thrill seekers like yourself might say, oh yeah, this is a great lifestyle because it, you know, really lifts you up. It makes you feel the life you're living. It really gets your blood pumping and is healthy in that manner. And I think that both would be right. It is one of those things that's interesting because here's the thing. Opinions, people say opinions are neither wrong nor right. But I think the truth behind that is rather, or the truth that contradicts that is, opinions can be wrong or right. And the idea of, is this opinion good for me or is this opinion bad for me, right? Is this a healthy opinion? Is this opinion leading me towards something that's good? I just got done talking about depression, right? Depression is an opinion about reality. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. Depression is an opinion about yourself and about the world around you. It's just an opinion. It's not wrong, but it sure doesn't make us feel happy about life. And so in that regard, I would say your current lifestyle is much more healthy for you than depression, right? Because it isn't at least driving you to look at the world in such a way that you are experiencing everything as if it's bad, right? You're looking at the world and seeing a bunch of opportunity. An opportunity, yes, to seek thrills, but at least opportunity. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, one of the phrases that I've spoken many times is, we weren't put here on earth for our own security, right? And that's the truth. We weren't put on earth for our security. It wouldn't make sense, right? We aren't truly secure. Nobody is. You can lose anything at any time. Just like you said, you could die, at any time. Suddenly, you don't have the choice. It just happens, right? And so I think to really embrace that and say, okay, if the point of life isn't to be secure, right? Then let's have an adventure. Let's have a life that's worth telling. Let's have a story, right? I think that's awesome, right? I think that's awesome. I think you should keep that up. However, I mean, there are implications, right, to that. And that is, you can leave your life, you can direct your life down a path that is reckless, to a point of self-destruction, right? I mean, for example, people who inject themselves with drugs are reckless, and they're seeking the thrill. They're seeking the high, which is what you kind of receive when you do really intense stuff. So what I mean to say is, yes, you have to have a balance, right? Every lifestyle needs a balance. Almost everything in life has to have a balance. And you said, oh, I'd never do drugs though. Yeah, great. But as you see, like, there is a point where you start taking it too far in one direction. Giving up yourself and your health can cause you to go down a road that's not healthy for you, even if your intentions are good, right? So I think that as long as you are doing the things to remain safe enough to be healthy, so that you can continue to live and continue to do whatever it is that you feel that you were put here on earth to do, whatever it is you are dreaming of doing, and nothing prevents you from that, it's fine. You don't want to, of course, do something that kills you, of course, or severs your arm and you break your arm and you can no longer play an instrument. Things like that. Obviously, you have to watch out for that kind of stuff. But if you're taking all the measures to make sure you're safe, I mean, there are literally people who have a job of being a stunt devil. And that's awesome. Those people do incredible things. They are the ones that make our imaginations go wild. We watch them on TV and like, whoa, that was sick. Whoa, and they might get us in trouble sometimes with our parents, jumping off the couches and doing somersaults and etc. But that's what makes a mind powerful. That's what makes the mind inspired to go out there and do something incredible, right? Sometimes we watch something that's not even related to our activity, which we dream of. Like, for example, I can watch certain people in a field that I'm not even a part of, but they're working so hard and they're facing a lot of problems along the way, but they're going at it anyways, right? No matter what the field is, and it inspires me to do the same in my field. And so what I'm saying is, what you can do with this energy that you have, right? With this desire to lead this kind of lifestyle is ask the questions, what can I do with this that also brings purpose and meaning to the lives of others and brings purpose and meaning beyond the activity that I'm pursuing? You know, they say pleasure and happiness are different, right? Pleasure is not sustainable beyond the activity producing it, right? It's a chemical high that lasts until the activity is done, or at least a few minutes after the activity is done. Where happiness is really just a view, it's a perception, right? Happiness is when you do things that, like, for example, you go out and you exercise, right? You don't enjoy it in the moment. It's not necessarily pleasurable, but you go and you exercise anyways. You feel good about yourself. And that good feeling about yourself makes you happy. You're satisfied with yourself. Therefore, you are happy. That's what happiness is. It's satisfaction with yourself and the environment that you're in and all that kind of stuff. And so what I mean to say, though, is when you are doing these activities, which will definitely produce pleasure, right? They're a lot of fun. Are you also creating happiness? Are you creating something that satisfies you? And I think if you are, then the answer is yes, it's healthy, right? Because the whole reason we do anything in life, hopefully, is to produce happiness within ourselves, to be satisfied with ourselves, to live a life that we would want us to live, right? As a child, we would look to ourselves and go, wow, that's the person I wanted to be when I grew up. That's who I wanted to be when I grew up. And that's me. There's no greater joy than that. Or, hey, that's even better than I imagined. I didn't even know what I wanted to be, but I'm looking at that. I'm like, yeah, I'd like to be that. You know, that's great, right? Then you've fulfilled what you're meant to, right? In that regard, in the regard of self-happiness, self-fulfillment as far as self-fulfillment goes. Obviously, there's fulfillment beyond what you can do with yourself. But then you kind of dive into, religion and things like that. But kind of just putting that subject to aside, I think that ultimately, if what you're doing creates a healthy, creates happiness within you and can create happiness for others, right? It doesn't repress anybody else's happiness. It doesn't impede on that and gives the chance to inspire them, then I think go for it, right? That's healthy. If you can do what you're doing and use it to inspire good in others, to inspire good activity in others, to inspire them to do, more, things just in general that are good, then I think that's super, super awesome, right? Because then you are supplying the world with something that is beyond your own, like, what you do impacts more than just you and in a good way. And I think that's one of the most healthiest things that's possible, right? We talk about healthy, I think it's important to define this term so we can understand what is that lifestyle healthy or not. And healthiness or health and wellness is a huge industry, right? And I was a part of it for a time. And there's a lot of health and wellness that is all about your own mentality and the way you're thinking about the world. Mm-hmm. And I think this is beautiful because you are doing something that you are living in the world, acting out your wellness and your health in a physical way. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a beautiful thing. Is there a way you can share that with the world? Then you've done more than just enjoy life. You've shown others that you enjoy life and you've inspired them to enjoy life the same way you do. And that makes that just totally makes sense to me. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I hope that makes sense, and I hope that inspires you, Wave, to go out there and share it. And I hope I have the right direction now. Of course, like I said, this is an opinion. But I'm going to give over to Joe. Maybe he has a different opinion, or maybe something of the same, but we'll find out. Take it away, Joe.
I am pretty much of the same opinion as you, Ryan. Yes. So that was wonderful. Actually, I keep it's interesting the stuff you love and the plans you have for the future, all the things you want to do. I think it's amazing. I love what Ryan was talking about with adventures. Let's have an adventure. When we learn that life isn't all about being secure, it's well, then let's make an adventure. Let's have fun. Let's do something great. Let's do something meaningful. And everybody kind of has an idea of how, we all kind of want to be great in some way. I think that's pretty natural for us to come by. And then eventually, a lot of times, many of us, we kind of get that beaten out of us through our education and through our upbringing and through many different factors. A lot of times we just kind of settle for the paycheck that's going to provide us with, all the things that are safe and secure and, all that stuff. And that's fine. It's fine. But I tell you, when you can learn to produce on your own, did you see when I did that? His owl fell over.
Yeah, it was mysterious. Are you magic? Wow. I think Wave Slayer inspired the owl to do a backflip.
Yeah. But interestingly enough, you talk about something that isn't 9 to 5, doesn't necessarily have to be legal. I would encourage you to make it legal.
Yeah.
I would encourage. There's a lot of great stuff you can do that's legal, or at least not immoral. But you talk about your hobbies: backpacking, hiking, climbing buildings, cliff jumping, surfing, anything that gets the blood pumping. I mean, I'm sensing tremendous opportunity as a vlogger just to start. And because, I mean, you're doing very interesting things that people would love to watch. And if you have you can get good footage of it and be a pretty decent personality, man, sky's the limit there. And who knows where it's going to come. All of your sentiments remind me of another guy that I know. Well, I don't know him, but a guy that I read about, a guy named Laird Hamilton. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, but he's a surfer. And so I imagine, I mean, he's an old guy too. He's like 56 years old. So he's even older than me. But I remember him saying, nothing, like he's the guy, one of the pioneers of tow out to big wave surfer guy, like where they tow you out on a jet ski to get the huge waves out in the ocean and everything. Like he was one of the pioneers of that. And so he has surfed some of the most enormous waves in history. And like he's like, he talks about going down these huge waves and they're like, aren't you scared about that? It's like, you know what? I am more scared of a 40-hour work week than that.
Nice. Yeah, I get it.
So, I mean, I can only handle 8 feet so far. Oh my gosh, that's huge. Like I would need like a little baby wave, like maybe one that you can barely stand up on. Because I've never surfed before. I really would love to do it. I would really love to. It looks.
I want to go skydiving so bad.
Yes.
Oh, skydiving is totally like all I've wanted to for years. Man, that would pump me up.
Yep. But here's an interesting thing: when you're gonna chase a dream, be prepared to work for it. Okay. Whatever you decide to do, if you want to, if you want to have these crazy plans for the future, you're gonna have to create it yourself. Nobody's gonna hand it to you. Okay. So you're probably gonna have to get creative. You're probably gonna have to figure out ways to make money. And there are lots and lots of ways to make money. We live in the information age. Actually, we live more in the conceptual age now. It's beyond. And actually now we are like we're in the coronavirus age or something.
Yeah.
But like
for Corona age.
And now that I said that word, this video will never ever be monetized. So now I'm not just saying this to get paid from YouTube. I'm saying this because being real. But at any rate, you're gonna work for it. I didn't like a 9-to-5 job. I didn't like a regular, work a day job. So I don't have one now. I have an inspections business that I work, when I can. But my most exciting days are days like today. Today was a Black Static and Swerve day, and I love it. Let me tell you a little bit about my day. This is not a 9-to-5 day. This is more of a 4:30 a.m. to midnight day.
You get it. A little bit longer.
Ryan's had plenty of these days too. But yeah, like, okay, up at 4:30 in the morning, do my morning routine. At 5:30, I'm on the screen with Jeff Mosier. He's our integrator at Black Static and Swerve, and we're getting prepared for the Double Cup of Joe show, which starts at 6. Joe comes on, the other Joe, Joe Bohan, he comes on about, he comes on about 6-ish. And so we get rolling, right? He's like the last minute kind of guy, right? So next week, by the way, we will not be live streaming Double Cup of Joe anymore. We're starting to produce them as shows that will come out in the morning. So they'll be there for you in the mornings, but they'll be pre-recorded and pre-produced shows. And then we'll also have a live streaming schedule as well for that show. But at any rate, so that was the morning, right? And that got done about 6:40. Then I, after that, exercised, did my, planned out my day. Like, okay, this is my to-do list. This is what I need to do today, and planned it out. And in there, I interacted a little bit with Bravo Cube on Discord. I saw she was on there, and so I chatted back and forth a little bit with Bravo Cube. And then it was awesome. working on Double Cup of Joe episodes until about 1 o'clock in the morning, or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Sorry,
not there yet. Almost.
Nope, we're not to 1 a.m. yet. Till about 1 in the afternoon, and then I was able to take an hour break from that, play Minecraft with my kids. In which 1 hour of Minecraft, we had a record. We found 19 diamonds.
Nice. That's a lot in 1 hour for
ridiculous
Minecraft.
In 1 hour of Minecraft. Yes. So anyway, so we got to play Minecraft. I was just still here in my studio. We were just online and everything. And so then after that, did some more Double Cup of Joe production, worked on that, got it to a point where I had to just let my computer export stuff and render video for a while. So that was just going to be sitting there. So then I went to Walmart. I had to get a few groceries at Walmart, came back. That was done. Back to work. Boom. Had dinner, jumped on a conference call at 6:50 p.m. So I'd been working all the time. At 6:50 p.m., jumped on a conference call with everybody else at Black Static and Swerve. We were on that until 8:30. Went and got a cup of water and sat down to do Don't Worry Wednesday.
Which is where we are now.
Yep. And now here we are. And then at this point, at the end of this, I'd like to say I'd go to bed, but I'm a little bit wired. So I think I'm going to keep working on production stuff for a while and then go to bed maybe around midnight or 12:30, 1, something like that. Back up at 4:30 tomorrow morning to do Double Cup of Joe again. But at any rate, those are, you would think that'd be an exhausting day, and it is. However, I'm chasing my dream. My dream is, Black Static and Swerve, is to create media of all kinds: audio, video, book, music. I want to be a media producer, and in fact I am. I'm just not paid for it full time yet. but we're working in that direction. And that's my dream. And so working towards that is exhilarating. And you're going to find that too. When you figure out, okay, I want to do something, I want to do these things with my life. This is my pathway there. When you sense that you're on the path to getting that lifestyle you want, that crazy dream life that you want, when you're on that path, it is so fun. You are lit up inside and it's exciting. Even at the most mundane, tedious tasks, when you turn it into, this is just a step along the way to my dream, it becomes dramatic and fun, and it's just exhilarating. It's so great. So Steven says, living your dreams seems fun. It is. But you know what? It's a lot of work. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Just expect. You're going to work hard. A lot of times people think my dream life is I'm going to sit around and do nothing. It's going to be great. There's a guy named Robert Kiyosaki, who is a businessman, business author, and instructor on finance and business and stuff like that. He put everything together in a real estate empire that he retired in his early 40s. And he didn't have to do anything. He had passive streams of income from real estate and investment income, and he was set for the rest of his life. And after a couple years of traveling around and doing nothing, he was like, this is dumb. I need to do something. This is boring. Like, all we're doing is just wasting. Like, it feels like a waste. And so that's when they created the Rich Dad Poor Dad company, and they started writing the books, created there's a game they created, there's all kinds of stuff. And that was all the result of, they retired, him and his wife. They did nothing for a few years, and then they're like, we are so bored. We got to do something. And so they started doing this, and now this is the dream for them. And you can listen to him on podcasts. He has his own show on podcasts, and you can just hear it in his voice. He's excited about living. He's excited about what he does. And I too am excited about all the things that I did today, even though I sat at my computer right here in this chair. It was awesome. My eyes were bugging out of my head. But you know what? I'm on my way to a dream. I'm on that path, and that's exhilarating and awesome. So I would encourage you. I don't know how much I touched on that topic, but boy, when you were talking about 9 to 5, I'm like, man, I can't imagine doing 9 to 5 anymore. Way more than that. But here's the key, though. I'm in charge of it. I can determine when I do what work. And my inspections business is like that. I just have a list of assignments that I need to do, and I can pick. I have assignments with deadlines, but I get to throw them in my schedule, so I can arrange my life in a way that fits that in to make an income while I build Black Static and Swerve and do shows and write music and do all that kind of stuff. I can figure out how to put all that in, along with Taekwondo, along with Minecraft, along with swimming with my kids, along with all that stuff too. But anyway, I've talked for a while. Ryan, please say something cooler than what I just said.
Something cooler than what I just said. I think I did it. I don't know. So no, I think what you said was really cool. I was happy to hear you talk about it. It's funny to, I remember when I was a kid, I was like we're talking 4th grade, I think. I was either 4th or 5th grade, and the teacher was asking us, hey, what do you guys want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And every kid was like raising their hand, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a police officer. I want to be a veterinarian. Oh my gosh, a veterinarian. I want to be a veterinarian. I want to help sick animals. That's a veterinarian. Oh, that's what I want to do. So all the kids wanted to be vets, apparently. I don't know why. That's the thing, though. children want to be veterinarians when they grow up. A lot of them, I want to be a doctor. And then basically they asked me, and I was like, no, you guys are crazy. Why would you want to do that with your life? All I know is I don't want a day job. And the teacher was like, no, we're talking about jobs here. Like, what do you want to do with your life? She's like, I don't know. Not a job though. Sounds really dumb. Like, so boring, waste of my time. No thanks. That does not sound fun. All those things that they said, that sounds like work. No thanks. And then I got a job when I grew up. I worked at a couple different places. I worked at Taco Bell. I worked as a baker. I did the job that Joe's doing right now, which is an inspector, inspecting houses for mortgage companies, and a couple other things, building cabinets and so on. So while I was doing those things, right, I started working on music and doing that kind of stuff, right, in the meantime. And now I don't have a 9-to-5 kind of job, which is awesome, you know? But the point of that is basically what Joe was saying. I think it's really awesome and it's very healthy to be chasing your dreams. Otherwise, why are you put here? You weren't put here for your own security, so that's not it, right? You weren't put here to be perfect either, because you would be if you were. But you're not perfect. You're good. That's what you are. And that's good. You were meant to be secure. So I think you're meant to have an adventure. Life is supposed to be an adventure. So ultimately, to answer your question, we think that as long as you're being safe, right, to a degree, you know, you're planning things out and you're not just like purposefully hurting yourself, right? If you're not purposefully hurting yourself, and you're being knowledgeable about your whatever you're doing, then yeah, I mean, absolutely. Chase it. You know, I think that's a beautiful thing. Live an adventure. Live a life that you enjoy, right? Live a life that means something. So yeah, I think it's healthy. As long as you're not hurting yourself on purpose, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's what we think. Obviously you can get anybody else's opinion if you'd like, but yeah. Thank you so much for the question.
It may not be the safest life.
Yeah, but what good story have you heard lately about someone being safe or even being, you know, secure and all that kind of stuff? I don't think they made a movie about it. Mm-hmm. I don't think they made a book about it. If they did, it was meant to be a boring book to point out the fact that that's not what life's about. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
So
there's a saying I heard a long time ago that you have the choice. You can either chase security or you can chase freedom. If you chase freedom, it's going to be a hard road. You know, there's going to be a lot of work involved and it's going to feel unsure and you're going to feel scared and there's going to be all kinds of things. You're going to come face to face with yourself. It's going to be hard. But if you chase freedom, eventually you get both freedom and security.
Precisely.
If you chase security, eventually you have neither freedom nor security.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we see this all over the place right now. Like Ryan was talking about, I'm an inspector in the mortgage industry. You know how many mortgages are having trouble right now? Because people who went and did all the right things they were supposed to do, they got good jobs. But you know what? A global pandemic hit. And those jobs disappeared. Not all of them, but a whole bunch of them. Unemployment.
It's not their fault.
The roof. Right, exactly. They could not have done anything different. It just was the way one little hiccup in the world system and a whole bunch of people, boom, out of work, struggling, having a hard time. And they did everything they could for the sake of security to have that 9 to 5, to have that good job that paid the bills and had the benefits and did all those good, wonderful things. And I'm not knocking that at all, because there is value. There are times when I'm working really long days when I'm like, I'm tempted, man, 9 to 5 would be great, because then I'd be done at 5 and I wouldn't have gone in till 9.
Yeah. It's true.
So there is some value in that, because then at the end of the day, you leave work and you're done and you go on, and then you can, do whatever. But for years, man, all I can think of is, okay, I'll work my job to make some money. And then when I'm outside of work, that's my time to build my dream. That's my time to work on the stuff that I know is going to provide a future. And so therefore, it doesn't really matter what job I have. What matters is, what am I doing outside of my working hours, outside of my job hours? So you may have to do a job in order to make some money to get by. That's okay. Work hard there too. Because you know what? When you try hard, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
When you give it half effort, it's not fun. It's kind of boring. It's kind of lame. We see this in martial arts all the time. My kids just got a new, they're a little bit more invigorated about martial arts now again, because both of them are now black belts. Right? So, but it's weird. Like, anytime a kid gets about halfway to their black belt, they start to lose that passion a little bit. They start to get a little bit lazy. They start to get a little bit, I don't do this anymore. And they start whining and complaining. And, I can't, why do I have to go? I don't want to go, and stuff. And it just kind of turns into that, right? And so they're not giving it their full effort. But the kids that are just starting, they're having a blast, because they're trying hard. They're learning new stuff and they're trying super hard. And then new black belts are always trying hard too. And when they're getting close to testing for a new rank, they're trying hard and they're having fun, and you can see it in their faces. But when they're not trying hard, you can apply that everywhere in your life, at every part of your life. Try hard. It's more fun. But anyway, Ryan, did you have anything else on that?
No, thank you for covering it.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Yeah, thank you for the topic. This was a wonderful topic. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about this stuff.
Yeah, well, it's like kind of why I was like, I technically could talk about this way more, but let's move on to the next topic, because otherwise we won't move on to the next topic.
Yeah.
Because we could talk about it for a long time, for sure.
Thank you. And please, do something that you can share. I would love to see videos of you surfing. I would love to see videos of places you're hiking to. Hawaii is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I like hiking a lot.
So
hiking is a wonderful thing.
Yeah. If you ever become a vlogger or start getting footage of stuff you're doing, please share links so I can see it, because I love that kind of stuff. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
So
I used to do, so I was doing inspections. I'd go out into the mountains and oh man, it's so beautiful. Driving through you've got walls that are like 400 feet high next to you. And you just start through this valley, and then you get to the top of a mountain and you're like, I want to get out of my car. I have an inspection to do in a house up here. But what I really want to do is get out of my car and just walk and explore, because this area is absolutely beautiful. And I mean, it was so tempting. I did every once in a while just try to absorb it, because it's just a wonderful thing. I love hiking.
So anyway, we got one video out, but it's rushed and the quality is bad. That's okay. First videos are always going to be like that.
Yeah, that's how you start. That's how you get good.
Just wait till Monday. You'll see the first attempt at a Double Cup of Joe produced video.
Nice. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be something.
Yeah.
Brian, you've already
So
seen it.
yeah, so
Yeah,
let's move on.
Um,
But yeah, Wave Slayer, if you want to share it, I don't think you can share your channel name, and then we can search for it, because I think that YouTube won't let you post links. Maybe it will. You could try it. Give it a shot. Try it. Try to post a link.
All right.
We'll see if it happens.
Yeah.
So anyways,
Great. Yeah, I think Lux is here.
Lux is here. Yeah. That's how I was. Yeah.
Is that Nori Senpai?
Nori Senpai. Yep.
All right, cool. So yeah, Lux. You would technically be next. Is it all right if we do your topic? How to go back to normal? Probably it's okay if you posted it, I would imagine. But and
Not okay
my
to do it.
condolences on your hand. So any idea when the recordings for Double Cup of Joe show will be? They'll be coming out Monday, starting Monday morning, and I'm not sure what time. I might release them at like 4 a.m. I might set them to release then. So at least then, no matter, like, if you get up early, they're there for you in the morning. If you don't get up early, they're still there for you in the morning, right?
Yeah.
But
sure.
that way they'd be there.
And if you wake up in the afternoon, you can wait till next morning if you want, or you can watch them right away.
Mm-hmm. And and if you're wondering about the live streaming, because we will be live streaming the recording of them, we're gonna probably start doing that next week or maybe the week after, and we will announce that, and it will be scheduled, so then you can feel free to join us. So, but they will be in the evenings. I'm sure it'll probably be sometime like around 8 o'clock, in the evenings. One of the things about Joe Bohan is he's not a morning person. So he's been a total rock star for the last 3 months, doing these shows at 6 a.m. and like forcing himself to get up and do these with me. But yeah, he's much more vibrant in the evening. Much more. It's great. But yeah. So all right. So let's do this topic. How to go back to normal. Princess has posted the link. And yeah, go ahead and read it, Princess.
The last time I was here, I spoke about my relationship with a girl named Rebecca and how I decided to go on a break with her to make sure she could learn to love herself well. Over time, it was working at the beginning, but things went south rather quickly and her mindset became worse and worse. Her self-love that she had began practicing turned into extreme self-hatred. And me being me, I decided I had to try and help her again. It started wearing me down to the point where it became impossible for me to go on. So I decided to permanently end the relationship, as I couldn't be with someone who doesn't love themselves. It's been 2 weeks since then, and I haven't felt the same since. My motivation to do anything feels gone. I barely pull myself out of bed in the morning, and I haven't been eating well either. Is this just a thing that happens with breakups, or is it something to do with me? Do you have any advice for me so that I can go back to being the happy me that feels gone so suddenly? I apologize that it's long. From Lux.
Yeah, I apologize that you're going through this. This is hard. I've been through breakups before, breakups of serious relationships, and it's a difficult thing to go through, and I'm so sorry that you have to go through this. You're absolutely right, that this is a thing that happens with breakups. Sometimes they can just throw us into a funk, and you know, it's a loss of a part of us, really, when we break up. And so to mourn that loss is definitely appropriate. Now, luckily, we're not mourning the loss of the person. We're just kind of mourning the loss of the relationship. I don't know what's more painful, really, because both of them can be extremely painful. So some of this is going to be time, but there are ways of getting through this and healing properly from it, so that as you emerge, you will be a stronger, more happy, more secure and stable person as a result of going through this challenge. So with that preface, I'm going to turn over to Ryan because he knows so much about how to take something negative and turn it into something more beautiful than it ever was before. He's tremendous that way. So Ryan.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate you. You're awesome at giving me the spotlight. I love how you just you actually you're really good, because like when you go like, okay, this is Ryan and he's really good at this, and so I'm gonna give it to him. You're so good at that. You're amazing. So with the topic, just like Joe said, yeah, it sounds really rough, man. It sounds legit. It sounds like something we would all experience. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination is it something that's specific to you, that only you felt this way. Oh, no way. I think that this is something that we all kind of experience, and we would experience this, a lot of us, if we were in your shoes. It's hard. Let me tell you something. It's interesting because I think the hardest part is that this wasn't the way it was supposed to be, right? That's kind of like what goes through our head, and that's why it hurts. It's like, it wasn't meant to be like this. This wasn't why we got in a relationship. This is all wrong. And that hurts when everything just goes the wrong way, right? It's like they're not working with themselves and they're not making themselves happy. They're just depressed and they're stuck in it. And then I'm over here, I tried to help, and then that didn't work. It made things worse, or just kind of things aren't going the way they should. So, and now we're here. Our relationship is slightly tattered, and nothing's better. Everything just looks worse. It wasn't supposed to be like this. It wasn't. Yeah, this was not what I wanted. This was not what anybody wanted. And I mean, that's really natural to feel broken and disheartened. And like, I don't even want to get out of bed. I just want to lay here. And I'm not even going to look for I want to be happy. I just want to be happy, but I don't even want to try. Like, totally get it. Mm-hmm. So first of all, I just want to say, it's not just you. It makes sense that you feel this way. So now that we got that out of the way, right? Where do you go? Just like Joe said, I think it's important to look into something and recognize that there's positive there. There is good. We are all so quick to, when we experience something that we don't like, we immediately say that it is bad. And it can be very difficult to find the light inside of it, especially with something like this. But just like also Joe said, this is one of those things that, again, when you climb this mountain and you get to the top of it, your view is going to be tremendous. And you are going to be like, wow, I am so glad I climbed up here. It is beautiful. The world is beautiful. And I'm on top of it. I am strong enough and I proved that I can climb this mountain. And now I can take other people up with me. Right? It's how life goes. In this moment, right? A couple of things you got to remember to do for yourself. When you are stuck in bed and you're just like, I don't want to get out of bed. There's nothing, nothing exciting to do. There's nothing really getting me out of bed. There's nothing like, oh, I could go do that. That'll be cool. Let me get out of bed. I'm going to go do that. And there's nothing like that, right? One of the worst things you can do is stay in bed. That's like one of the worst things you can do is stay in bed. And then you get up. Here's the thing. When you get up, right, you're going to be like, okay, now I'm up. There's nothing to do. There's nothing exciting. Like I'm just bored instantly. Like I got up, I got my clothes on. Maybe you already had your clothes on. And you're just like, yeah, I guess I'll go. Okay, yep, nothing going on my phone. All right. Okay, it's like, what do I do? All right, here's some things for you. I'm called to mind immediately. Maybe you remember this, maybe you don't. In the Bible, Jacob, I believe it was Jacob, he was told to go do something. And it was like, I don't want to go do that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he's like, I don't really want to go do that. And he's already along the path. He's been walking for like quite a while. He's out kind of like in the middle of nowhere, and he's sleeping with his head on a rock. And he's like, I don't really want to go anywhere from here. I don't want to continue. I'm done. God, sorry, you tasked the wrong person because I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And he lays there. He falls asleep. And he has this crazy dream. Jacob's ladder. I believe this is Jacob's story. When he wakes up, God tells him, go, get yourself something to eat. And then continue. And it's so funny because then later, Jesus does the same thing. Again, in the Bible. So Jesus, right, he tells people and he gives people food. Like that's usually his first thing. That's like his go-to. It's like, eat, then go somewhere. Eat first. Prepare yourself. Get some energy in you, right? We're human. We like food. That sustains us. And so what I would recommend is first thing when you wake up and you're like, man, I've got nothing to do. There's no reason for me to get out of the bed in the morning. Perfect opportunity to go cook some food. Go make breakfast. Think about it. Like, okay, what kind of ingredients do I have? What could I put together? Start being creative in that form. Because you're going to need food. You're going to need nourishment, right? And you said you haven't been eating very well, right? So think about this. Get some nourishment. That's the first thing. And when you're thinking about what you want to eat, it's okay to be creative. It's okay to be like, okay, I can cook the eggs. I'm not really good at that, but practice will be good. So let's have some practice. Or maybe it's like, oh, I love making, all this kind of stuff. I could have toast with cream cheese and jelly on it, and it is delicious. Or whatever, right? But I would say, if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling like you don't want to get out of bed, the worst thing you can do is stay in bed. So get out of bed, because if you stay in bed, you're doing nothing except for being upset with yourself and with the world because things aren't turning out the way you want them to, right? And we can acknowledge that, right? We can acknowledge like, this isn't the way it was meant to go. This is not what you had in mind. And it just isn't that way. So it hurts. So let's get out of bed. Let's just start doing something. I would say first, start with food, right? And when you eat some food, you're going to start feeling better immediately because that's how humans work. You're supplying energy and chemicals to your body that help create good feelings, right? So that would be what I would say to at least start with, right? Start your day with that. Now from there, hopefully you'll have the energy and that creativity in creating food. Even if you're doing something you've always done, a recipe you know very well, you're being creative, you're creating something, right? And then you're consuming it. Hopefully that'll give you enough energy to think about the next thing you're going to do, because I don't know what it is going to be. But, and Joe will probably recommend this, go do something that's creative. When you go through really hard times, being creative helps a lot. And that's why I kind of start with food. You get to be creative. You get to create your food and then consume it. It's a wonderful thing. Okay, so that would be my physical recommendation to help start thinking about positive things. Just do positive things, right? Creating food for yourself and eating it, that's a positive thing. So that action will help stimulate being positive. Now, the other side of that is like the mental stuff, right? So in this scenario, you immediately are going to think everything's bad. Everything's turned out for the worst, right? You got in a relationship with somebody and you broke up because they were being depressed. It looked like it was going in the right direction. Now they're even like just not trying at all. And now they're depressed, maybe even more so. And now your relationship with them isn't very good because you called it off. And right. So you're just looking at it and you're like, oh, all these things are bad, right? That's not true. We only see them as bad. First of all, where would they be right now if you had never met them? Think about all the moments that you helped carry them through. Even if they were less depressed for just a moment because of you. Is that not worth anything? It was worth something, wasn't it? If you brought them any happiness at all, and I'm sure you did, then it's worth it, right? That was your whole goal. Even if it's not happiness that's lasted forever, the truth is, there is no such thing as happiness that lasts forever. You're experiencing this right now. You were happy before, you weren't happy before that, then you were happy, and now you're not happy again. You can be happy again, right? But eternal happiness, happiness that lasts forever, is not something that just happens and then stays that way. It's something that you have to work at. And it's funny because the only time you get to work at it is when you have conflict. At least that's crunch hour. That's crunch time, right? That's crunch time for now. I need to work on this because, yeah, my happiness is at stake. So I really have to work hard right now, right? So if you think that you want them to be happy, recognize that what they're going through is their crunch time, and it has been for a long time. The nuggets of information you left with them, believe it or not. Now, you might think, oh, I tried to help. I tried to change them, and it just didn't work. And they didn't listen, and now they'll never change. They disregarded what I said, right? The truth is, that's not true. I know a lot of people who, over many years, stopped being depressed. And and you said, I know they can change. Exactly. Because you changed. Exactly. And you know this for a fact. The things that people told you while you were depressed, even though it didn't make you not depressed anymore at the time, all of that build up did help lead you on a path that ultimately led you to not be depressed anymore. It all mattered. It all counts. Even if it's not super impactful right at the beginning, it can be later on. A lot of things we don't even remember. It's just the time we spent with them. The fact that we did at all. And some of the things they said lingered with us. And most of it was subconscious. We can't even remember what they said. But later on, we say things and we're like, where did I come up with that idea? Who told me that? I don't even remember. Anyways, it's a great idea. This makes me sound really smart. You know, this is pretty much like a lot of what I do, right? I just tell people what I heard other people say, right? Because we're humans. We've all experienced this throughout time since humans existed. We are like rarely ever going through something some other human hasn't gone through before. That doesn't mean we're not unique. We are extremely unique in so many ways. But we all have the same emotions. We all have a lot of the same responses to things. And human wisdom is human wisdom life works the same for all of us. And so we can take that, right? And we can take from others and learn from others. Even if it's not right away, it helps in the long run. So it's okay that you two maybe don't have this great ending together. What you might learn later in life is that the ending that does come is far superior to what you could have ever imagined. It always works out that way for me. Sometimes when things are rough and there's nothing you can do about them, and it's just like, wow, that didn't go the way I wanted, and now it's too late to fix it, and that sucks. The best thing you can do is give it up. Cut your losses and say, okay, well, that happened. Where do I go from here? Because whatever that caused in the future is going to be great. I don't know what that's going to be. Let's go. let's forget about it and move on. Not forget about it, but stop worrying about it. Because to be upset just because it didn't turn out the way we wanted to is kind of silly, especially when we can recognize that maybe it worked out how it was supposed to work out. Even for better than what we could even imagine. But just because it's not our way, we get upset, right? I don't think that's good for us, right? That's not healthy for us. We have to be open to the world giving us things that aren't the way we want them, so that we can become something better than we ever imagined we could be anyways. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if we were exactly as we wanted, I'll tell you, unfortunately, we wouldn't be very good people. Because we would be extremely selfish. Mm-hmm. Because it would be all my way, right? Mm-hmm. And everything would go according to my plan, right? And we'd get that weird neck thing going on, all of us. And we could all do it together. And it would not be a happy world. And it would not be a good world. So anyways, I hope some of that helps. And I understand it's tough, but you'll make it through this, man. You've made it through worse. Mm-hmm. In fact, you've made it through your own depression. Mm-hmm. That's even harder. Trust me, it's harder. I've been in where you're at right now, and it feels like the hardest thing in the world. You're like, oh man, depression was nothing compared to this. It's funny because we are so quick to forget how hard it was at different times in our life. It's always the immediate feeling that we're feeling right now that's the worst, I think. A lot of times, if it's tough, we're like, oh yeah, this is the worst moment ever. You know, you'll get through it, man. But anyways, I'm gonna get over to Joe. He's probably got a lot of more important, more wise things to add to this.
Oh, I don't know about that. That was pretty wise, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be tough. I mean, and at some point, you know, sometimes we have to realize that time is going to be our ally. You know, we were talking to Wave Slayer in the last topic, and they said, you know, their first video wasn't all that great, right? That's okay. It takes time and consistent effort to get good at that, right? Healing from a serious emotional wound like this one will take time and consistent effort. It's like anything. Now, this wound, I imagine, is doubly painful because not only do you have the breakup, that's painful enough, right? But before the breakup, you spent what was it, 2 weeks, I think? Oh, wait, no. It was 2 weeks since the breakup. Okay. But for the time you got back together with her and you were trying to help her again, and she was wearing you down for that time period before the breakup. So you had that time as well that you were just getting boom, boom, boom. You're kind of getting dragged down emotionally and maybe spiritually as well. And then the breakup happens, and that's painful. So that just throws a whole nother thing on there. And so now I'm sure in this type of a situation, the breakup was kind of a relief in a way, because you were no longer attached to this thing that was like pulling you down into the dumps. But at the same time, it's still, the severing of a relationship hurts. And one thing you can actively do in this situation, I saw in the chat earlier on that there were a lot of people saying it's not your fault, don't blame yourself. And that's true. It's not your fault. You did what you could. Now, it may be true that you could have done better. There were things you could have done differently. There were things you could have, changed about what was going on. Of course, that'll always be the case when we look back at something. Always. But that's not an opportunity for us to go, oh, dang, if only I was better, then I wouldn't have done that, and beat ourselves up over it. No, the thing that gives us the opportunity to do is to grow and learn and say, all right, next time when I'm faced with a situation like this, I will remember this and I will do things differently like this instead. So that's why we're faced with those times when we can actually look back at a situation and pick out the things that we did wrong. It's not for us to get, down in the dumps about. It's for us to learn and grow and be better later. And so that takes that bad thing and turns it into a good thing, right? And like Ryan was saying, this valley you're in, you're going to climb your way to the top of this mountain. And the view is going to be more amazing than you've ever seen before. Because you just handled a serious valley. So the next peak is going to be pretty high. It's going to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take some effort, and it's going to take some, you're going to have to be patient with yourself and learn to forgive. This is hard, especially in a situation like this, because sometimes you don't necessarily know who to forgive. If you find that there were things that you did wrong in this situation, then your job is to repent of those and forgive. So like, just, you have to feel sorry for them, which is pretty easy to do, because it's like, I didn't want that to happen. That's not, and now that I know better, I wouldn't have done that. And so it's like, so I'm not going to do that again. That's repentance. You feel sorry for the thing you did. You try to not do it again. You resolve that I'm going to change. I'm not going to do it that way again. That's that part of the equation. And the next part is forgiveness, and now this isn't just saying, oh, no big deal. This isn't just saying, oh, no, don't worry about it. This is saying that was wrong. But even though it was wrong, I forgive you. And you might be saying this to yourself. You might be saying this to her directly. You might be saying it to her just in your mind, not actually there with her. And in this situation, it might be best to not have any contact with her. Like, I don't know if that's possible or not, but at least for a while, it might be good to just no contact. Okay. So the forgiveness that you have for her, that can be all inside you, where you say, I forgive you. That was wrong, and I forgive you. Not trying to explain it away somehow, not trying to justify the action, none of that. It's, that was wrong, and I forgive you for it. And it's really powerful. We talked about this morning on Double Cup of Joe, how when, if you don't acknowledge the fact that there was a wrong, then you're never going to heal from it. Because then it's like, well, there was no reason for me to be hurting because they didn't do anything wrong. Well, yes, they did. Like, they might not have meant to. But, when a wrong happens like that and we get hurt by it, we have to acknowledge the fact that that was wrong and then forgive. Okay. So that's one step that I would take. Now, Ryan was talking a little bit about getting up in the morning, making some breakfast, or getting up whenever you get up. It could be morning, could be later, whatever. But when you get up, get some breakfast. here's something that I do. And, one of the things that I would encourage you to do is figure out some kind of exercise, figure out something physical you can do with your body that gets your blood moving a little bit. And this is one of the things that I've learned to do, because I have an exercise component in my morning routine, but I don't usually do my workout first thing in the morning. I usually do that later after I've done double cup of Joe and after, I've put together what I'm going to do for my day. Sometimes I even go and do my inspections day and then do my workout after I get back. But in the morning, I do have an exercise that I do. I sit in my bed. So I'm in my bed, right? And I'll reach up and I'll touch my toes. I just lean forward, touch my toes, and I'll sit. And I'll reach up and I'll stretch up and I'll turn to the side and I'll feel like this part of my body stretch. And then I'll turn to the other side and I'll feel this part of my body stretch. And it's just about stretching. And I'll kind of put my arms back and stretch a little bit, just kind of move my arms around a little bit and do some stretching and bending, right? This is all while I'm sitting in my bed. As a result, one of two things happen. And which one happens, your job is to go with it. Okay? After I stretch, I either feel like, okay, it's time to get out of bed. And I go with it. I get out of bed. There are other times I do this stretch and it feels so good and it relaxes me so much that I just lay right back down. And I go with that. Because that's an amazing thing about stretching, because sometimes it invigorates you, depending on, I always say depending on what day it is, but it could be any day really. Just some days it's invigorating and I want to get out of bed. And so I get out of bed. Some days I want to lay back down, close my eyes for 10 more minutes. And so I'll set a timer for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. And I'll close my eyes. Maybe I'll fall asleep. Maybe I'll just lay there and pray. Maybe I'll lay there in silence, and just meditate and dismiss thoughts, actively dismiss thoughts. There's a clue. Because sometimes when you're there, after you do this stretch and you've got blood pumping through your body, now you've got stuff like you have the ability to think more clearly. And then when I lie down after that, I can close my eyes and thoughts start to rush in and I can just say, thank you, you're dismissed. Thank you, you're dismissed. And I'll dismiss thoughts until I no longer have any thoughts coming into my head and I just exist. That's it. But I always set a timer on my phone first, just in case I fall asleep and I know I need to get back up, right? So if you don't have any commitments, then maybe you don't need to set a timer, right? But that little bit of something, because I have 6 things I do in the morning to start my day. I spend time in silence. I do an affirmation. I do visualization of my goals and my dreams, what I'm thankful for, the 3-step process you've heard on Double Cup of Joe, what I'm thankful for, what I'm looking forward to, what I'm going to do today. That's part of the visualization process. Then I do that exercise where I stretch. Then I do some reading, usually out of a devotional guide or my Bible or the catechism, just a little bit of reading. And then I journal. I write down some of the things that I'm thinking. I just pour out some thoughts on paper. Those are the 6 things I do in the beginning of my day. And those 6 things are so profoundly impactful on what kind of a day I'm going to have. I would encourage you to pick one and see how it changes things. Spend some time in prayer or in silence. Do some kind of affirmation. Remind yourself that you're a valuable person. Remind yourself of what you're shooting for. Do some visualization of what kind of life you want to have in the future. Do some reading, do some journaling, and do that stretching. Just sit in your bed and stretch for a few minutes. And if after that you want to get up, get up. And if after that you want to go back to sleep, go back to sleep. It's okay. So at any rate, those are some physical things you can do, plus a little bit of, you know, I mean, it's amazing what some of this stuff can do for you. And like Ryan said, do something creative through this time. This is a profoundly opportunistic time for you creatively. You went through an emotionally painful event that's causing a lot of turmoil inside. It's the perfect environment for creativity. Your emotions are strong right now. And to pour those out into something creative, you will create something very beautiful. And you'll look back on it and you'll be like, wow, that thing that happened that was so bad created this. And then you'll start to realize those patterns. I started to realize that pattern in my life. You've heard me talk about it over and over again. You know, painful times lead to profoundly beautiful moments in creativity. By the way, there was somebody, I think it was Saul, was asking if about that song where I was losing my house and everything like that. I found it. So I'm gonna actually make it available somehow. I'll let you guys know. But I gotta take it. It's like I don't have it as a single. It's like one big long audio file that's the whole album. So I gotta actually like cut it out and export it, and you know, it's like it's
a little bit of work here.
Yeah. So it'll be a little bit before I actually have the time to do all that, but I will do it. And I'll let you know.
Nice.
But anyway, that's something to look forward to. But anyway, Ryan, did you have anything else about this?
Sure. Yeah, and thank you for talking about that stuff. I mean, that's so great. Stretching does help. Just does feel good. And feeling good, that's good. Lex or Nori Senpai, one thing you said is, I don't blame her at all, honestly. I feel like I blame myself for not being able to help more. And there's a lot of good comments in response to this. I just want to touch on this a little bit. It's interesting that we get this way. I think in those moments, we have to remind ourselves that, and I don't mean to be a jerk in any way about this, but it's not about us. If I'm disappointed in myself that someone else is still depressed, even though I tried my heart out, I even cried my heart out and they are still depressed, right? And I couldn't help it. And I'm disappointed in me. Well, that's not the point. If I'm disappointed in how it turned out, well, I don't have control of that. If I'm disappointed that they're still depressed, well, that's not up to me, right? So if I'm upset, right, I'm disappointed how things turned out. Sometimes I have to remind myself, one, sometimes things are out of my control. And two, if I'm disappointed in myself, then it's kind of wrong for me to be disappointed in not changing them, because that's my own selfish wants for them. And maybe they don't want to be depressed either, but to be disappointed in myself, I'm missing the point of why I was trying in the first place, right? Because I'm too focused on me being the one that helps, or whatever, as opposed to like, oh man, rather trying to say like, if I'm disappointed in myself because I wasn't good enough, then her being depressed isn't what I'm focused on. And then that's, for me, that would be bad, right? If her being depressed, and now it could be both. It could be that I'm disappointed in myself and I'm disappointed that she's still depressed, even though I tried my heart out. I want so badly for her not to be depressed, but she's still depressed. And that hurts, right? It doesn't feel good. It's just like, I feel so bad for you. I feel so bad for you. It hurts me inside. So some of this is selfish. And so for that, when I notice something in me is selfish, I just let it go. And I'm like, oh, why am I upset about me being selfish? Whatever. I'm done. I'm done with it. Like, I'm not going to be upset about that anymore because that's just being selfish to be upset about that. So throw that away. Now, the other side of this equation, I feel bad for her, right? Here's the thing. Lex, this may surprise you. I have, in my lifetime, spent hours and hours and hours with people. And there are certain people in my life that I worked very, very diligently to help them come out of depression. And there are other people in life who I have associated with and talked with and encouraged, but didn't get too obsessed with helping them come out of depression, right? I didn't get too into it. And the funny thing was, they both rendered about the same result. And that's because either way, the only way I ever change anybody's life is by leading by example. If I want to help people and I'm all sad and depressed, what happens is they don't feel any happier, right? So I'm going to say that again. If I'm sad and they're depressed and I'm sad, you know what happens? Yeah, they don't tend to get happier. And I'm like, no, you got to do it this way. You just don't see it. You're so amazing and blah, 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 blah. And they can tell that I'm not okay with the way that they're at, way that they are. They can tell that I don't want them depressed and I'm not like, I don't accept kind of who they are right now because they're depressed and I want them to change for their own benefit. And that upsets me and it gets me all worked up. They see all of that and I'm not that great of an influence, to be honest. If instead I have this person that's depressed and I act like they're not depressed and I compliment them on different things, right? Same old, we compliment them on things. We go, wow, you're really intelligent, you're smart. But instead of acting like they're depressed and trying to help them out of it, I literally just treat them like they're not. You know what happens? My attitude becomes an example for them. My attitude becomes attractive to them. If I go up to somebody and I'm like, oh, poor you, you know, and that's not the, like, that's really sad that you're having to go through this. And, you know, let's help you change. That's a really nice thing. But you know what? A lot of times it doesn't work. Why? Because you're only focusing on their sadness, which only begets more sadness. You're not creating an environment for them that makes them come out of their shell. You're creating an environment that focuses them on them inside their shell and reminds them that they're there in that shell, reminds them that they are depressed because that's what your attitude is. I found most of my success, to be honest, during those times when I've forgotten that they were ever depressed. And I've treated them like they were just another friend that was as happy as I was. Because then my happiness really blooms and I'm not focusing on them and their sadness. I'm focusing on them and their happiness. And it brings it out of them, right? So I say all of this to ultimately say, if you want to make an impact on anybody, because you feel, you know, you're upset at yourself because you didn't help the way you wanted to. You're upset at yourself because you saw this person in distress and all you tried to do, and you tried your heart out to help this person, and you didn't do it. It didn't work out. It wasn't enough. I say all of this to help you get out of the bed in the morning. Because the example you set, whatever you do with your life right here, however you choose to act, whatever you choose to embrace. Are you going to embrace give it back over to Joe because we're about to close it down anyways.
Yep. So I guess if it stops buffering and you guys can actually hear this. Oh, looks like something came back up. It started moving again, or maybe not. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So at any rate, thank you guys so much for being here. We love you guys so much, and that's why we do this show. So we will be back next Wednesday. So just so you know, we begin our new schedule now that we'll only be doing these shows on Wednesdays. It will be legit Don't Worry Wednesday. And so we will see you. If you have any topics, I noticed some of you guys are posting them. Hero, I saw that you posted one. So we've got some new ones from you guys. We'll be back on Wednesday. We'll be happy to handle as many of these as we can get through. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. Lux, hopefully some of that was helpful for you. I'm sure what Ryan was talking about it's helpful for me. And yeah, hopefully some of the stuff I said made sense. But
that's what I always hope.
We can. Yes. We can.
I hope that made sense to somebody.
Yeah. But anyway, we love you guys, and we can't wait to see you next Wednesday. And until then, have a great time. You can stop in and see us tomorrow morning and Friday morning on Double Cup of Joe show. And then after that, we will no longer be doing that show live in the mornings, but we will announce when we are actually going to be going live for our recording of the show.
Oh, so, cool.
And that'll be kind of fun because we're going to do 5 days in one show, like in one live stream.
You're good.
So whatever day it is, it's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
All up in that one day.
All that time. And you guys can come and have a good time with us. We're going to laugh a lot, have a really good time, I'm sure. So,
and Joe is going to be really awake.
He will.
He'll surprise you at how much awake Joe looks awake. Nah, I only tease. He's amazing. I am so impressed by him.
I know. Me too.
Yeah.
Great. So
all right.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. We'll see you next time on Don't Worry Wednesday. Until then, we love you, and go to BSS.studio because it's cool. And that's it. Love you guys.
Peace. See you guys.